In the beginning, like the first 3.5 years, like the first 3 4 months, he was really nice. But then after that, he started being an asshole. So like I say, like the first 3.5 years, he was like mean to me.
So when you say mean, describe it.
He was abusive. He was like always belittling me and always like, he was like mentally, emotionally, and physically abused.
Remember when her and Gina, Puffy's, little plaything from back in the day, got into it? And this is what she wrote to her: "If I wanted you to blank, Diddy would have had you on your knees," right? So that's her right there admitting that she knows how Diddy gets down and how he uses these females.
So it looks like Young Miami might not be the victim we thought she was in this messy Diddy situation, because Diddy's long-term side piece Gina Hewen just came out to reveal how Miami teamed up with Diddy to hurt her and abuse her when they were together. It turns out that Diddy and Miami have been treating Gina the same way they treated Cassie, and y'all are not going to believe the crazy receipts that Gina came with. It looks like Diddy might have another lawsuit coming his way, because this is about to go down, because Miss Gina has officially declared war.
And then Young Miami, who was popping all type of shit, you can't hear a mother word out of her mouth now. Everybody's quiet now. Big Act still talking, they quiet as hell.
So this new drama, y'all, is looking like there is even more trouble on the way for Diddy. And this time, Young Miami is being roped into the drama as well. So y'all know how everybody has been talking about how Young Miami needs to run away from Diddy for her own good, because he's probably hurting her and putting hands on her like he did to Cassie, or that he would soon start. Young Miami even had people feeling bad for her, talking about how she was Diddy's latest victim. But as it turns out, she is not quite the victim at all, because not only is she aware of how Diddy treats women, but allegedly she actively took part in helping Diddy hurt women. And apparently this isn't just hearsay or Miami's haters making some things to discredit her, because Diddy's former side piece Gina Hewen is now coming out to make some allegations against Diddy and Miami. Not only is she claiming that Diddy hurt her, but she also claims that Miami took active part in the abuse that Diddy put her through. Now, after Cassie filed the lawsuit, we all expected that it was going to just be a matter of time before women came out of the woodworks to expose Diddy for being cruel to them when they were together. I mean, going by the horrible things that Cassie revealed in the lawsuit, there is no way that she was Diddy's only victim. The lawsuit said that Diddy essayed Miss Ventura in her own home after she tried to leave him, often punched, kicked, and stumped on Miss Ventura, resulting in bruises, burst lips, black eyes, and bleeding. Forced Miss Ventura to engage in intimate acts with male SWs while getting off on it and filming the encounters. Demanded that Miss Ventura carry his firearm in her purse just to make her uncomfortable and demonstrate how dangerous he is, and introduced Miss Ventura to a lifestyle of excessive alcohol and substance abuse, and required her to procure illicit prescriptions to satisfy his own addictions. It then went on to list several long instances of how he hurt her. Listen, it was much worse than we could ever imagine. The law also talked about a couple of times where he put hands on her, like the time when they were on their way home from attending a Jay-Z party. Mr. Combs beat Miss Ventura repeatedly in an Escalade, including by kicking and hitting her. He forced her out of the vehicle on 5th Avenue in New York City. She was eventually able to hail a cab and get into her apartment in Manhattan. There's also the time when Cassie spoke to a music manager in a club without Diddy's permission, and he was furious. It was nothing serious, just a casual conversation in a club. Diddy got so mad that when they left the club, Mr. Combs beat Miss Ventura, pushing her into the corner of the vehicle and stumping on her face. When the car arrived at Mr. Combs' residence, Miss Ventura attempted to run away, but Mr. Combs followed her and proceeded to kick her again in the face. Miss Ventura was bleeding profusely and was ushered into Mr. Combs' home, where she began to throw up from the violent incident. To show how bold Diddy was, he didn't even try to hide his behavior toward Cassie from people around him, because he did it in front of his employees and people around him. But he didn't need to, because he had everybody so intimidated that they were too scared to do anything to help Cassie. The lawsuit said these were witnessed by Mr. Combs' staff and employees of Bad Boy Entertainment and Mr. Combs' related businesses, but no one dared to speak up against their frightening and ferocious boss. The lawsuit went on to say that Diddy was simply obsessed with controlling Cassie, and he would do anything to keep her under his control, even if it meant that he had to keep her drugged up to make sure that she did everything he wanted her to. Cassie claimed that Diddy used to trick her into taking drugs, saying that he would manipulate her into taking the drugs even though she didn't want to. She also claimed that he was addicted to pain pills, and whenever his legal supply of pain pills ran out, he would force her to help him score more pills. And talk about control. Diddy even made sure that he had access to her medical records, like the time she had to have an MRI done because Diddy had been putting his hands on her and giving her so many drugs to the point where she was starting to lose her memory. But that's still not all, because the lawsuit says he used to SA her repeatedly, and if that wasn't bad enough, he used to force her to hire male SWs, and no, they were not engaging in a three-way deal. He would fly them out and then force Cassie to be intimate with the SWs while he watched and got off on it. And when she tried to resist, he would feed her drugs until her resistance melted away. The lawsuit said, Mr. Combs always supplied Miss Ventura with copious amounts of before and during the FOs. Miss Ventura was given ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and alcohol in excessive amounts during FOs, which allowed her to disassociate during these horrific encounters. It became commonplace to get IV fluids in the days after an FO to recover from the excessive substances pushed upon her. The lawsuit was one big horror story, and of course Cassie had people on her side who were fighting for her against Diddy. At first he tried to deny the allegations, and he had his lawyers release a statement that said he vehemently denies these offensive and outrageous allegations. Miss Ventura's demand of $30 million under the threat of writing a damaging book about their relationship was unequivocally rejected as a blatant blackmail. Despite withdrawing her initial threat, Miss Ventura has now resorted to filing a lawsuit riddled with baseless and outrageous lies, aiming to tarnish Mr. Combs' reputation and seeking a payday. However, Diddy and Cassie ultimately decided to settle out of court, and Cassie released a statement saying, I have decided to resolve this matter amicably on terms that I have some level of control. I want to thank my family, fans, and lawyers for their unwavering support. And Diddy also released a statement where he said, we have decided to resolve this matter amicably. I wish Cassie and her family all the best. Love. But just because Diddy and Cassie settled out of court doesn't mean that the case died down, because Cassie managed to start a major conversation around the topic before she settled. She collected her bag and then she dipped. And this seems like a pretty smart move, but like I said, the conversation is still ongoing. At first, people were talking about how Young Miami needed to get away from him for her own safety because he could hurt her too really badly, and how she was probably the victim and all that stuff. However, Gina Hewen, one of Diddy's former side pieces, is now coming out to reveal that Miami is not the victim we all thought she might be. Now, things between Gina and Miami have always been very toxic and messy because they kept coming for each other extra hard on social media. I mean, do y'all remember that messy fight that they had on social media last year? And it all started when Gina posted this picture of Diddy kissing her on the cheek. Miami didn't like this, and she took to Twitter to accuse Gina of chasing clout, saying, somebody please give this beast some attention. Gina replied on her Instagram stories writing, if anyone's seeking attention, it's you. Suck my D. I don't give an F. Miami then claimed that Gina was trying to use her for clout, and she said, attention? B, I am the attention. Let's be clear. Notice me. Please, B, go sit down. We see you. Relax. It's okay. You've been around, just around, for years. You've been waiting on this moment. If he can't make you famous, B, I ain't arguing with no B that got cheap lint ball carpet in their house effing on a billionaire. You freaky B. Gina responded to Miami writing, why you so pressed, mama? I thought you was a city girl. Miami hit back saying, I am. That's why I F with your man and ain't coming off him. I don't care how many pics you post. Get that head bread and leave. Well, let Gina tell us she was being hurt by Miami and Diddy, and it had nothing to do with her seeing Diddy pick Miami over her over and over again. You see, Gina once came out and spilled the tea to Tasha K about how Diddy used to put hands on her.
In the beginning, like the first 3.5 years, he was, like the first 3-4 months, he was really nice, but then after that, he started being an asshole. So like I say, like the first 3.5 years, he was like mean to me.
So when you say mean, describe it.
He was he was like always belittling me and always like, he was like mentally, emotionally, and physically abusing me.
Well, it turns out that Diddy might not have been alone on that. Remember how Cassie said that Diddy used to make her take part in freak-offs where she got intimate with SWs? Well, Gina is now claiming that Diddy and Miami did the same to her, where they forced her to be intimate with men against her will, and they had her drugged up just like Cassie. And the wild part about all this is the evidence has been in our faces the entire time. So y'all know how Cassie said in the documents that Diddy made her wear white nail polish whenever he made her do the freak-offs? Gina pointed out how Miami always has white nail polish on every time she's with Diddy. And according to her, this is not a coincidence because the FOs are still happening with Miami, only this time Gina is their victim. Gina also claimed that Miami would tell her what to do during the freak-offs, and again, evidence of this has been right in our faces the entire time. On one of the occasions where Gina and Miami got into it, Miami actually threatened her with a freak-off when she said, "If I wanted you to eat my pee, Diddy would have had you on your knees. You a eater. Gina, you been down bad ever since I came into the picture. You been crying for a baby for 10 years. You been around as a bee that eat P and D when he feel like it. You a eater. You the same bee that was crying on Tasha K cause you wanted a baby. Poor Sushi." At the time, we thought she was just throwing words around, but knowing what we know now, it looks like Miami might just be as bad a villain as Diddy. And it's just crazy to see how this has been right in front of our eyes this whole time, but we never figured it out. Gina's revelations have shook us to the core, and fans have been leaving comments saying, "Young Miami, aka Carisha, knows he's an abuser. Look what she tweeted to Diddy's ex, Gina V, during their back and forth." Young Miami confirmed a lot of things that happened to Cassie via her argument with Gina months ago, child. After reading these tweets from her, I have an opinion on Young Miami. She appears to be the type of woman who would help an abuser abuse other women for benefit of her and her man. She might come up with some paperwork in the future. Fishy. And this right here just further proves to me that she is well aware of how that man moves and treats women, and she is perfectly okay with it. Also, referring to the woman as Sushi is nasty. Now this is turning into an even bigger hot mess. But do you guys believe Gina and her stories? And do you believe that Miami is enabling Diddy's behavior? Drop your thoughts in comments below and then check out this next video.